it's 7:01. Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. It is 7:01. Tonight is Wednesday, January 21st. This is the Riverside School District 96 regular business meeting. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Okay, Mr. Barsadi?
Present.
Ms. Gunn? Here. Ms. Kalick? Here. Mr. Olick?
Here.
Mr. Hunt?
Here.
Ms. Claps? Here. And Mr. Muirhead?
Here.
Okay. Quorum is present.
Thank you. Okay, so before we start the meeting, we always have a public comment spot at the beginning of the end. The board welcomes and encourages community engagement at all board meetings. Therefore, time is allotted at the beginning and end of each meeting for audience members to address the board. We kindly ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes. Please note, this is a board meeting in public and not a public forum or a town hall. The board does not directly respond to questions or comments during the meeting, but may ask the superintendent to follow up with you as necessary. Kathy, do we have any public comment tonight? No. Okay. So we will just move on to our agenda. Before we get into it, does any board member have a suggestion to change the agenda tonight? No. If not, I will hand it over to Dr. Ryan Toy for the superintendent's report.
All right, thanks. Tonight we have a group of students from Central School. We have Mr. Gatz, who's our Central School principal, and I know some other staff members here. So, Mr. Gatz, if you want to introduce the team that's here.
Absolutely.
All right.
Great, thank you. Thanks for having us. With me tonight are 2 staff members from Central School, Allison King and Artie Govani, as well as 3 students, Gus Sumas, blank behind, got to turn around, Lily Truesdale and Carlton Bodie. If you guys would all come up here. They're here to talk to you a little bit about the Best Buddies program that's been part of Central School for the past few years and some of the recognition they've received over the last year for the chapter that has developed and grown quite considerably over the last few years. So I'm going to turn things over to Gus, who's going to share a little bit about some things to start.
Good evening, my name is Gus and I am a student representative for our Best Buddies chapter. Best Buddies is an international organization that is built on an important and powerful mission to create an inclusive environment where everyone feels valued and accepted for who they are and for their differences. Through Best Buddies, students are given opportunities to connect in meaningful ways and form friendships they may not have otherwise made. This program has helped create a school culture where kindness, respect, and inclusion are encouraged and practiced every day.
One of the ways we promote the Best Buddies mission is through the monthly events. At these events, students learn about inclusion, participate in team-building activities, and form friendships in a fun and supportive environment. Our chapter is organized into buddy family groups, which include students of mixed ages and abilities. These groups allow younger and older students to connect, support one another, and grow together. Best Buddies has shown us that inclusion isn't about being the same. It's about appreciating what makes each of us unique.
This year, our chapter continues to focus on giving back to our community. We hosted our annual Candy Cane Graham fundraiser where students were able to send kind and encouraging messages to peers and staff members. Throughout this fundraiser, with support from our PTO, we raised over $2,000. We were able to donate to Kids Care to help local families in need. This project allowed us to spread kindness throughout our school while also making a real difference in our community. It showed us that small acts of kindness can have a big impact.
Hi, I'm Allison King. I'm one of the resource teachers at Central. Artie and I, we're advisors, and we are so proud of our students and their dedication to the Best Buddies mission, and their leadership and compassion and their commitment to inclusion have truly stood out. And because of their really hard work, our 2024 and 25 Best Buddies chapters was recognized for 2 very prestigious awards. So we're so excited to announce that we won Illinois Central Elementary School Chapter of the Year and Outstanding Chapter of the Year. So very exciting. Thank you. So we're so proud of our students, and these awards really reflect their success, and not just theirs, but how they portray it through every day at school, and how it's truly building a community that is just very special, and we're very excited.
So Best Buddies continues to be more than just a program. It's a movement that empowers students to lead with empathy and kindness. We are grateful for the ongoing support from our Board of Education, our administration, the staff, our PTO, and all the families. Thank you for allowing us to share how Best Buddies is helping us shape a more inclusive, accepting, and connected community. We are excited to continue spreading this mission to years to come. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. Does anybody have any questions for either the students or for Arthi or Allie? You've had a chapter in existence not that long.
So we started. I started the program with a few other teachers way before COVID actually, and when COVID hit, we did shut down for a little bit. So Artie and I and a few other teachers, we revamped the program, and now it's just her and I who are the advisors, and it's been really, really, really great.
It is. It's a lot of work, but it is so worth it. When you see the kids at each event, you have parents emailing us telling us how much their kids are excited to attend the events. They're like, we can't wait. Or my kid was saying, I wish this was every week. They're so excited to attend. I'm like, oh my God, I can't imagine Allie and I trying to make this happen every week. But the excitement they have, it could be like we do an annual friendship walk because we can't necessarily host like a whole Chicago walk like Best Buddies does. But our food drive has always been incredible. We have cans of food. I know Mr. Gatz even was like, where are you guys putting all of this? And I was like, some in your office, some in mine, some in everybody's office. But we just have everybody that always participates, and each and every one of our students is more than happy to always take part in every fundraiser activity, and not just the students, every family member is always so excited.
And we do have one of the, if not the biggest chapter in all of Illinois.
Yeah, we do.
So we wish we could include every single one in the school, but we do have about 75 students right now. It depends on each event how many attend, but
yeah, it's roughly 60 to 75 students every event. So that's great.
So I've heard event a few times, but what are those events?
So each month we have a different theme. In September, we group the students into families, so that could be, it's usually around, depending on how big our chapter is. This year we have about 11 groups, and each group has about 6 to 7 kids. Yeah. It's mixed grade levels, age levels, ability levels, and then we take our groups and we do different types of team building, exercising. We teach about inclusion,
getting to know each other, just like icebreakers, like things you wouldn't normally. Because I feel like now everybody just hangs out with the kids that they play sports with or they're already in the classrooms with. But now we mix them up, and I feel like between Allie and I, we have a good sense of where the kids are hanging out, what they're doing. So we always try to mix it up, and we do icebreakers. We'll be like, what's your favorite food? Who's your teacher? Who was your last grade teacher? Just like that's the first event. Our infamous, what we would call it, is our gingerbread Halloween activity, and we split them up into their family groups. We give them a gingerbread Halloween house kit, and they think they're supposed to make this most wonderful gingerbread house, but we're actually going around and judging them based on teamwork, and then they get a special prize, and we do a countdown like it's New Year's, and the kids are like cheering us along, and then we make like a famous reveal, and it's always a good time. I don't know, it's like we do a lot of different things. We try to switch it up, but it's always, honestly, not even just for the kids, for us, it's always a good time just to see how happy they are each and every single time.
And there are many events. We do plan for our fundraisers and our food drives. So students are like working with their group to make posters, to spread the word. They write their scripts for the announcements so that we can raise awareness for, donating to the food drive, which is in the spring, and our friendship walk. So we physically walk, hundreds of cans of non-perishable foods down to the Riverside Pantry, and it's a fun little event. And then, we celebrate at the end with popsicles and just try to get kids to branch out of their typical peer group and make other friends who they might not typically be friends with, and so it's really special to see.
That was my question. Oh, okay.
It's been a while since we talked about it. I'm just curious, how do the students get involved? Is it just like a sign up and
It's a sign up, so they have to fill out like a form, a Google form through just that we create, and then there's also through the Best Buddies International website, they have to register through that organization, so they're in the system, and we take attendance every time, and so it is through. If you look it up, if it is, it's a national program, so. We're really proud to be one of the only elementary schools in the state that continues to try to raise awareness of inclusion, because obviously as a resource teacher and a psychologist, we want to make sure that everyone feels valued and accepted and included.
Everybody's friends with everyone, and that's all that we want,
You said we were the biggest in Illinois?
One of the biggest in Illinois.
One of the biggest. Okay. And that's based on student count, I'm guessing?
Yes.
I mean, 75 is a lot.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
We're very fortunate, and thank you to all of our teacher volunteers who do come.
Yeah.
Because, some of them have needs that, sometimes we do need additional adults to support us through it, and it is overwhelming. It's a lot of students, but it's a learning opportunity for everyone, and try to make it fun, but also
the teachers that come, they know what to expect, so they're also in it for the fun. They're like, we understand, it's fun, like it is chaotic, we won't lie, but it's like a good type of chaos that you enjoy, that everybody is just, when you see a bunch of different personalities vibing with each other, having fun, getting to know each other, you're not trying to stop and be like, focus on this program. You're just like, have fun. Like, I like that you guys are talking about what you learned in 3rd grade and you're a 5th grader. So it's an amazing time, and as much effort as it takes, it's such a great program.
We meet every month, and then March is a special month for us because that's actually Inclusion Month, so we have a few Spirit Days coming up. We do on March 21st, we celebrate and honor Down Syndrome Day. We do have, we have a Spread the Word of Inclusion Day, which is March 4th, so that whole month we're going to try to raise lots of awareness. We're going to do little speeches and activities in each classroom to try to get everybody involved, and we got bracelets for everyone, so it says like spread the word, so everyone, staff and students, will be trying to honor that Inclusion Day.
Cool, it's a great program. Thank you for coming out and sharing.
Thank you so much for having us.
It's been a while, as you noted. It's been a while since we've talked about this, so thanks for coming out and sharing.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good. It might be starting to snow, so people that need to head home should head home. All right, and we have one other very exciting item under the superintendent's report, and we have Lena Mackley here, who is one of our Hauser teachers, who has just gained her national board certification in English language arts. So I want to honor Lena. And because this is what we do in school districts, Lena, we have a certificate for you. Congratulations. And Lena said she would share just a few words with all of you about what it takes to become a nationally board certified teacher. So.
Sure. Thank you for recognizing me and celebrating my achievement. So National Board, it's a rigorous and optional certification. Teachers go through it. For me, it took 5 years to work through the components. There's a test. There's a lot of written reflection and analysis of my teaching pedagogy and methodology. Deeply, deeply reflective. So I would have to make sure that I knew what my students' needs were. I'd have to talk about why those students needed certain lessons or activities to enhance their strengths and their challenges. And then I would have to piece together my rationale and then my next steps for the lessons. And, so this took 5 years. My family knew about it. I started it when I was maybe in my 4th year teaching. So right when I could, I wanted to try my hand at achieving. I was at a different school district when I had started, but when I came here, I got a lot of support. Melanie Arazi, so integral with it. So like part of the process that I'll explain to you also comes from the support that I received from school and home. But Melanie Arazi, she herself national board certified, and so we kind of became national board sisters in this process. And this was my last year to try certification. If I didn't get it, I would have to redo the whole process again, which it's grueling, but worthwhile. It was like the best PD that I could ever get, but with her mentorship and friendship and like coaching, she was very honest and critical of like my work. So I would write a lot of my analysis and I would send her emails, hey, how does this sound? How does this look? She would help me. And she didn't give me like empty compliments, if that makes sense. Like, she would tell me like, oh, this was strong, but she would be honest, and like I needed that, and I'm just grateful to her for being that coach that I needed. And like one of the best, I continuously go to her for instructional coaching now. Like, I'm not in a certificate or a degree anymore, but she's awesome. I tell her, come every day to my class, please help me, But so I'm just thankful to have had the support and everybody from here too who were just rooting for me. Allison, we became really good friends, and we started here at Hauser together. This is our 3rd year, so 2 years ago we started, and we just got this friendship bond. She kind of knew what I was going through, and I'm trying to explain what it is, and maybe not a lot of people know what it is, but she would just give me her love and support. And my mom and my husband, my mom Sahar and my husband David, like they've been with me since day one. Again, it's hard to tell like non-educators what this is, but they knew it was difficult. And they would just, they'd pray for me, they'd support me. My husband especially, he went through a lot of, he sacrificed a lot. Like I'd have to put myself in a coffee shop for 5 hours a day, just, hey, leave me alone, let me just try to work on this, and he'd be okay with it. And when I was getting frustrated, I would tell my mom, and I would tell Allison, I'd tell Melanie, and it was, again, like the best PD experience. For some people, it takes them a year. Sometimes 3 years is like the norm, but they give you up to 5 years, and I needed to take all 5 years. Being like a little bit newer in the teaching profession, like I was only 4 years teaching at the time when I had started, and now I'm like 9 years in. So it's like I wondered if I had started it now, 9 years in, would it have been a little easier? But now I got it at 9 years. So I'm just very thankful to the whole school, the district, my family, my friends, coworkers, and again, thank you for recognizing me today.
Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing your family too. That's great.
None of us
And Melanie and Allison too. Yes,
Yeah.
all of you. Yeah.
No, that's great. None of us truly understand what this is, but we all understand the importance of it. So congratulations and all of the energy, and encourage all of your peers to try to go for it. It's not for everybody, and I know it's very grueling, but yeah, we would encourage anybody else to try to go for it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I try to rep, not rep, like I tell them about Melanie. I said like, hey, hit her up too though. She'll help you, really,
No empty compliments. She'll shoot you straight. Well, congratulations.
Thanks so much. And congratulations. And that is the superintendent's report.
All right. With that, we are going to move into the consent agenda. Could I have the board secretary read tonight's consent agenda?
Sure. Yep. Tonight's consent agenda consists of minutes from the following previous meetings: December 3rd, Committee of the Whole, December 17th, regular business meeting, along with the December 17th closed session meeting, the personnel report as presented, the payables pre-list as of December 31st, along with the payables pre-list as of January 21st, the employee recognition event for 2025-2026, and the employee wellness event for 2025-2026. And that's it.
Does any board member wish to remove an item before we make a motion to vote? Nope. All right. Before we do that, let me see. I'm trying to remember, what was the date on the, everybody get May 1st? Friday, May 1st on your calendar? Or at least hold that if you can. That'll be our recognition event. I always look forward to that one. And I know there was a note in here that the staff appreciated the wellness screening stuff, so as long as that continues to be meaningful, I'm all for it. So thanks for sharing that. Is there a motion for the Board of Education to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Okay. Ms. Claps? Aye. Mr. Olick?
Aye.
Mr. Barsadi?
Aye.
Mr. Hunt?
Aye.
Ms. Gunn?
Aye.
Ms. Kalick?
Aye.
And Mr. Muirhead?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
All right. Next up is Riverside Education Council. Any comments tonight? No? All right. Any board member comments?
It's been a long time since our last meeting.
Everybody have a nice relaxing winter break, I hope, before the cold and everything set in. Got to enjoy some time outside.
It was warmer then, yes.
It was warmer then, very much so. It's supposed to be cold again this weekend. All right. Maybe there'll be some more activities going on by the time we meet next month. Okay, that moves us into old business. So we have the Blythe Park Playground bid that came in, and if I was reading this correct, this is only for the landscaping component of it?
This does not include the actual equipment.
Not just, okay, so it's just not the equipment. All right, so all the groundwork that we need to do. We've talked about this quite a bit, so I'll just go ahead and make a motion. If anybody wants to make comments before we vote, we can. Is there a motion for the Board of Education to accept Vistara's recommendation to award a contract in the amount of $386,785 to D&J Landscaping as presented?
So moved. Second.
Yeah, so as I noted, this is just for the landscape portion, and our total budget, I want to say was $750. So that leaves that space for equipment coming in later. Is there anybody else that wants to make a comment before we vote? Nope. All right, Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Okay. Mr. Olick?
Aye.
Mr. Barsadi?
Aye.
Mr. Hunt?
Aye.
Ms. Gunn?
Aye.
Ms. Kalick?
Aye.
Ms. Claps?
Aye.
And Mr. Muirhead?
All right.
Motion passes.
Maybe one other, I don't know if this is worth saying or not, but this is the no fence option, because that was the last time Ryan was here, so they must have figured it out. So that's good. Next up is the Hauser Junior High school windows bid. Is there a motion for the Board of Education to accept Vistara's recommendation to award a contract of $1,129,519 to Kroll Windows as presented?
So moved.
Second.
And this is as simple as it sounds. It's to replace some very old windows here.
Yes.
Is it the whole building?
It's the whole building.
The whole building. So that'll be a fun project.
So will these windows be functional?
Yes. Mark and Jack are over there nodding yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've had to ask that question, Dan, but I remember that little kerfuffle from a couple years ago.
I do. I remember it as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know what the contingency is?
The
This
what?
budget. The contingency.
Do you want to do, I know Mark and Zach are both here, the contingency that's built in?
I'm seen including a $100,000 base bid general allowance, which I think is.
Yeah, but I didn't know is that the contingency or?
It's a good question.
Is general allowance is the same as
Is it-
contingency?
Yeah, so the general allowance for this project was $100,000, which would be essentially the general allowance is your contingency.
Okay.
Typically, you put about 10%
Yeah,
of
right,
your
yeah.
projected project. Some projects you do a little less percentage simply because the contingency on windows, for example, you're not going to open a wall and find something. So 100,000 seems to be a reasonable amount for.
No, I like I said, I saw that. I didn't know that was that. That's what.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all I have to say is that just because we've always run into contingencies, especially when we do windows and soffits, and that I'm just hoping that this is enough this time. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a specialist here, but I think we got all with the masonry work. I hope that's the bad part. It didn't seem like we had as much around the windows, so hopefully that'll just be a pop them out, pop them in situation. But yeah, this is an old building, so.
Yeah, no.
And this will be the summer too, right? They'll get it done this summer.
Which also means that's Hauser and therefore Central will be off limits for summer school. We talked about that already.
Yeah, and didn't we? Aren't we doing another tuck pointing, finishing the tuck pointing stuff this year too, for the summer?
Yes.
Yeah. So then hopefully we'll be done. We can use this building for summer school again, because I know that was a bit of an inconvenience last summer, but we got to get through it. So, okay. Anybody else? All right, Kathy, would you please call a roll?
Okay, Mr. Hunt?
Aye.
Ms. Gunn?
Aye.
Ms. Kalick?
Aye.
Ms. Claps? Mr. Olick?
Aye.
Mr. Barsadi?
Aye.
Mr. Muirhead?
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. So that moves us into new business. First up is our strategic plan, which we've been talking about on and off for a little while. So now we're going to get this thing in motion. So I don't know. I guess I'll hand it over to you. As I think from what you and I talked about, we need to figure out how the board is going to be involved.
Yeah, that's really step one. I know when Gary Zabilka presented to us, he talked about anywhere from 1 to all 7 of you could be involved. Certainly if there's 3 or more of you, we post them as special meetings. I know the board had done that, I think, 2 strategic plans ago. When we did it 5 years ago, really 6 years ago in the development, we identified, or you all identified 2 board members to participate. And then with the agreement that a lot of information would come back, and I think there was a nice sort of sharing and reporting of that. But because sort of the next step is built on building that core team of board members, school leaders, parents, community members, staff, students, we really wanted to kind of get a sense first of how many of you plan to participate. I know, as I've said, like you're all really busy people with jobs, and this requires essentially 3 evenings, 5:30 to 8:30 on the dates that I've noted there. Certainly I'm comfortable whether it's 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 of you. But I do want to say that I think the model last time around with 2 of you also worked really well. And then we're not subject to open meetings and things like that.
I would suggest we just do 2 just to make it a little bit easier on that front, unless there's a third person that really truly wants to participate. I know I'm going to miss one of these meetings because I already have some travel booked for one of these sessions, so I don't just for myself starting it, missing some, and then trying to come back in is going to be kind of difficult from what I can remember last time. So I'll just step out and get updates at the board table, but I don't know how others are feeling.
I was part of the last one as a parent representative, and I would really enjoy participating this time as a board member. So I had talked to Wesley and Ruth about it, so I would love to do it.
I have a professional conflict on one of the evenings, so I should probably step back as well.
I know you were pretty interested, or have mentioned that you were pretty interested, assuming you still are.
Really interesting how this
I think you know, when you and I were talking last week maybe? I'd forgot you were on as a parent, so I do think that'd be interesting, kind of from what you can remember, and then carrying that forward from a different lens. a little bit of continuity on how that last discussion went of the plan that we're ending here.
Yeah.
I don't know, Stephanie, Dave, Dan.
No, I mean, I'm definitely interested. I also there's potentially actually 2 dates that can be conflicts for me, so I'm more than happy to turn it over to Marlo and Matt. So,
Any strong interest?
Well, it is something I'm interested in, but similarly, my not board meeting Wednesdays, I've signed up for something in the evening. So my other 2 Wednesdays a month are now occupied, and 2 of the meetings are on Wednesdays. So, but of course, excited to work on it as a board, with the 2 representatives bringing in information to the whole board.
And these dates are maybe a little more condensed than they were last time we did. I think last
Yes.
time we met over 6 sessions. It was, if you recall, it was over Zoom and during
Yep.
the global
Zoom,
pandemic.
yes.
So this is going to be a little bit different, 3-hour sessions. But certainly we'll make sure that it comes back. I'm looking at sort of just the board cycle that'll be in between. There'll be a March cow, a March board, and then an April board, where those will all be good opportunities for more conversation.
Yeah. And then, as noted, ideally we vote on this and have everything approved before the end of this year so that you can prepare over the summer and everything goes into effect next year.
Well, I participated as a board member last time. I would still be very much interested in participating, but if we're just doing 2, then it should go to folks who haven't done it before.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think for Matt being the newest, and you're the one that's going to live through it the longest, would be my guess. That probably makes sense for you specifically. I mean, I think the only decision point is we just post it as an open meeting. I mean, I think that's really
right.
We
And
just
it's
gotta
really
remember
not
to do
hard.
that.
And it means, in theory, members of the general public could come and observe the process, but that's fine too, right?
Yeah.
If a reporter wanted to come, or it will probably be in here or the Hauser cafeteria. We have yet to sort of finalize just some of the logistics, but it'll be local and it's an interesting process. A lot of good conversation I'm sure will be had, and conversation will come back to this table as we refine each step.
So is that
I wouldn't mind participating again.
okay? So we'll just do 3 then.
Okay.
I don't see any issue with that. Thanks, Marlo. Though I think this is gonna be interesting. I'll be interested in your perspective of how it went as a parent. Now that you're an insider, how was it different, or I don't know, whatever you see. So
I'm
okay.
sure it'll be easier to visualize.
And then I know we've got a couple parents on the docket. I don't know if we've reached out yet, and I'm sure you've got some staff in mind, so we'll have to connect with them. And see, we've got a little over a month to get that put together. So
really wanted this to kind of be the first step. Make sure you're good with the dates and the board member agreement on this. And then next we'll be reaching out. We're going to make mention of it at PLT again, not that we are asking the PTA and PTO presidents to necessarily be the ones, but who do they know that might be interested. I always reach out to like our EL department and ask who they know that might be interested. Our special ed department, same thing. And then each principal from each of the schools, just other parents that they know would be interested. So have not done the kind of, if you're interested, please let us know. I anticipate that we would have so many more parents than we would be able to place on our team. So kind of through a process of essentially being nominated or offer of an interest. So we mentioned it at the Family Community Partnerships meeting, and again, like asking like who might you know that would be interested. We want to make sure that we have a well-represented group of parents and staff, and we're going to have some 6th and 7th grade students participate as well.
Is it 6th and 7th?
6th and 7th,
Okay.
because by the time, like the 8th graders
Right.
will be almost,
They're
they're
gonna be
going to be
done.
coming to
Yeah.
the end, and so 6th and 7th, I think we'll have an opportunity to kind of see it lived out a little more.
Yeah, that'd be good. This is
Yeah.
my first year. Here's my my second year. It feels like
Yeah.
it kind of gets a little
Yeah.
easier. So yeah, okay. All right.
Beyond these dates that are listed here for the first, second, and third session, what's the commitment? I might have somebody to nominate,
Oh,
but
okay,
I want,
okay.
want to
Really,
be able
it's
to-
that. It's being able to
that's
participate in those 3 evening events. A lot of information is gathered through survey, so that's the other thing that you have attached here is a draft of the survey.
And I believe Perry sent that all out as a pre-read.
Yes,
to be prepared.
Yeah,
so however long.
And we shared it with I shared it with the leadership team. We shared it with Family Community Partnerships yesterday too, just to get some feedback. As you can see, it's a pretty straightforward survey that really hits on kind of our 5 goal areas that we have currently, and we will do what we can to make sure that we really stir up interest, because having a wide representation and a lot of participation in that survey is really what's going to help us shape the strategic direction, and the feedback from families and staff will be so important with that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think back. I don't think it wasn't an intense amount of information to prep for each of those sessions. It was, I'm assuming they'll do something similar, but they did a really good job of grouping the themes of the feedback and like calling out specific things, kind of drawing your attention to certain things. And then you'd go into the meeting, and then they would put together whatever the next thing is, and like, did this make sense? Just, whatever. But I don't remember it being a lot of time to try to prep it. But there's maybe an hour or something like that to go through the material.
An hour or so. It wasn't a tremendous amount of prep.
In addition to the 3-hour meeting, so 3 hours those nights plus prep time.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd be interested to hear your nomination later, Selena.
Oh yeah, how do you want us to? Do you want us to talk to the
If people just
that we have in
you
mind?
could certainly
or?
let me know directly, or if you want to talk to people first and say, I'd love to suggest your name to our superintendent if you're interested in doing this. These are the dates
Like, this is
then,
the commitment.
and we'll move forward. We'll move forward kind of quickly, because that first date in February is yeah. So I knew after this meeting we'd kind of start launching that piece of it all.
All right. Is that all you need from us today?
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, so there's a strategic plan memo here. We just talked about the board member roles, and then there's a draft survey here if people want to look
for
at
your
it.
interest. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, next up is the school calendar for 26-27.
All right, I'm going to ask Dr. Dozel to come up and share.
Talk us through.
Yeah.
This Thursday start and Tuesday end. Give you a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening, everybody. So we would, let me back up. After working with the REC leadership and the co-presidents taking it to their exec board, we collaboratively came up with a recommendation for the school calendar for the 26-27 school year. Most of you, probably all of you know, that we work with RB's recommended calendar for the upcoming school year, RBHS, to ensure our spring break and our winter breaks align with the high school. And so we start with that. So our winter break will be December, someone should really bring her glasses to me. December 21st through January 1st. And then our spring break will be March 26th through Friday, April 2nd. So those align with RBHS. Then after that, we look at when RBHS is starting. And so Riverside Brookfield High School is starting the week of August 17th this year. And so as we looked at that, we usually start around that time, the third week of August. But as we were looking at that start date and when the end date would be, we noticed that we would have ended around the same time as RB if we started that third week. And so if we end around the same time as RB, it impacts 8th grade graduation, because we can't have graduation at RB until after RB has their graduation, because they have it set up for the high school, and then condense as the elementary districts use their area, they'll condense the chairs from there. So since that impacted our graduation and we're too large to look at another location, we needed to adjust what our thinking was for the start. So we are, after discussion, we're recommending students start Thursday, August 27th, which after the 176 student days, 4 institute days, we end on Tuesday, June 8th. We usually start on a Wednesday. That's been our past practice. If we started on Wednesday, the 26th, we would have ended on Monday, June 7th. And we've had that discussion before at the board table about ending on a Monday. So we made the adjustment so that we would start on Thursday and end on a Tuesday instead. With the students starting on Thursday the 27th, that means our 2 institute days will be Tuesday and Wednesday. You will see on the draft calendar that we added 3 additional half days, as we had discussed, the administration and the board had discussed. So those half days fall in October for the first semester, trimester, not semester, and then in January the 28th for the second trimester, and then in April and May for the third trimester. So we have one at the end of the year because that's our wrap up for the year and working on goals for next year, whether it's curricular goals or curricular professional learning. But we always have that one at the end of the year for that focus to the next year. And now with this additional one in the third trimester, we're able to also do some wrap-up work on what's working, what's not working, and what other professional learning are we going to need then to ensure a smooth start to the upcoming year. So that's a summary of the draft calendar that we're recommending. And then summer school, when we do our draft calendar recommendation, we also provide the dates for summer school. So summer school for this summer, 2026, will run from Monday, July 13th through Thursday, August 6th. And as Dr. Ryan Toy stated, it will be at Ames this summer. Any questions for me?
What's the proposed date of the Hauser graduation then on this calendar?
So on this calendar, on any calendar, once we have an approved calendar, then Hauser administration, Comark administration, and Brookfield-LaGrange administrators work together to decide who graduates on what days. So I can't give that to you yet because they haven't talked about it. Mr. Harvalis and the principals at the other 2 schools haven't discussed that yet.
Got it. Okay. I mean, I prefer a calendar that's more aligned on the start and end dates of our high school, just because I think that our community relies on high school students for employment, for nanny jobs, daycare jobs, swim team, lifeguard jobs, and so I think that having a schedule that's more aligned is ideal. I understand that there's the graduation issue. Is there a different place we could host graduation? Or, like, I'm showing on 208's calendar that their graduation date is May 28th, so then we would have, 7 potential days between their graduation date and our end of school.
We would end up probably, what happens is usually RV's graduation is the Friday before Memorial Day. And then the 3 elementary districts would use that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday afterwards. That's usually what happens. It's just a matter of who does which day. So I would guess that graduation for us would be on the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd of June. But one thing I do want to say, and Dr. Ryan Toy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we usually start the following week after RB. So it's not odd for us to start a week later than them. That's how we usually do it. The high school start, and then we start that week following. It just feels later because of the way the calendar is laid out.
Yeah, and I get that, like, that's how we usually do it, but like, is that
You're saying
best?
that it would be nice if we could change that.
Well, potentially, right? Like I said, I think that there is a reliance on high school students for jobs that, and so if we could change it, I think it would be nice. I think families would appreciate that. And if it's a matter of then holding the Hauser graduation 2 days after the end of school or 1 day after the end of school, I wonder if, like, that's something that we could do.
So I'm not understanding what's the issue. I understand you're saying it's nice. Families rely on high school students for childcare and things like that, but I guess I'm not understanding the conflict.
So if you have a bunch of high schoolers going back to school on August 12th, but then you're not sending your elementary and junior high age kids to school until August 20-something, like, you're having a week gap for Parks and Recs departments, for
nanny positions, for other roles that high schoolers would have that would service younger students or younger kids in the community.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not convenient for
I don't know
a
that
lot of
I've
families
ever
that are
seen
working
summer camp though for Parks and Rec ever. It doesn't really go up to the wire like that though.
No, there's always a gap. Now the gap
Yeah.
will be larger. There's always like a week, and families sometimes use that time as their vacation, etc. But there's always like camps, and because they're also college students, and the college students need to get back. So not just high school. It might end on like the 10th, and then you have typically like a week of no camp. But now really you have more
Well, it's generally been a week. So I mean, it's not now we'll have this. It's basically it's always been that way, or at least it's been
with
that way.
this calendar.
Right.
It will still be about 2 weeks this
Yeah.
time because we're starting on the 27th of August. So we're starting a little bit later in August. So it is going to be about an extra week from when the camps usually close.
So I guess my question is one of the main driving reason is surrounding graduation.
That was one of the larger reasons. I can't remember.
I would say it's the driving reason. So I do think it's important to point out that like elementary schools have historically started, that week almost 2 weeks after a high school. So high schools, if you've noticed, have like inched to like earlier and earlier starts. High schools by design really work hard to get a first trimester in before winter break. And so as high schools have moved, I'll say earlier, more into like that middle of August, a lot of elementary districts, and a lot of our families, like we did sort of float this by our parent leadership team with, of course, a mixed reaction, right? Because I think for every family that worries about losing a high school babysitter or something, there's also others that are like, we always take a vacation or try to get family time in late August when the camps have shut down, et cetera. So it is very challenging to make a decision that really meets every family's needs. I mean, it is our goal, but I would say that the elementary districts in our area are modeling more around this schedule, which is a later August start, with this kind of like, we don't really want to match what high schools are doing. There's a lot of criticism. I shouldn't say, like, there's criticism that high schools are starting too early and it still feels very much like the middle of summer. I appreciate the feedback, but we did sort of go over this quite a bit. We did talk to our feeder districts. We did talk to other elementary districts, or I say elementary, I mean K-8. I think that's clear. So it's a challenging question, and my sense is that you would probably get a very mixed reaction to a matched high school start date.
I guess that's sort of where I'm going. Is that I don't think there's always going to be people on both sides of the equation on what we're going to do. I mean, just quite frankly, I've never really liked this calendar because we start later, especially now that I have somebody in high school, and we always just found it very difficult. But I guess the question, the way I look at the question, because we're not going to satisfy everyone, I guess if we wanted to move the calendar up to be more lined up with the high school, I mean, and we're just talking graduation, I guess.
Right, we found a different location for graduation, which I don't think is insurmountable. Yeah.
But not even trying to find a new location for graduation, just graduating after, like, a couple days after school ends, or like 3 days after school ends. I guess that for me, that's the question on the table. It's not so much
on vacation plans, I would think.
Pardon?
Yeah, I'm not sure parents. I'm sure again, you're back to you're not going to please everybody. If you have graduation after school ends, you're going to have some people say, "Well, I plan vacation for after school ends." So I want to go. I want to leave town. So yeah.
When the 8th graders graduate, they graduate a few days before the last day of school, and then what we do is we use that day for step up to Hauser. So that's when the 5th graders come to Hauser, and 8th grade teachers don't have students, so they cover classes, so the 6th grade teachers then can divide up the incoming 6th graders and meet those students. And I'm sitting here counting, well, if we start here, what would that do with this end date, and how could we make that work? So I am counting that out as everyone's talking, but everything I'm coming up with, even if we end a day or two after when RB's last day is, because their last day is on their graduation date, I believe, even if we end a day or two later, then our graduation would end up being probably on our last day also, and that would probably then cancel step up to Hauser because we wouldn't have the empty space that we have when the 8th graders aren't there. So it's graduation, it's step up to Hauser, Brookfield LaGrange just starting as Dr. Rantoy said, we have talked to Comarec and Brookfield LaGrange, and Brookfield LaGrange is going to start the Tuesday of that week. So they're starting on the 25th of August when we start on the 27th. I can see both sides of the coin. I am willing to do as the board would like. We can go back and we can continue to play around those dates and come back at March Cow with another draft to consider, and then look at the two, or we can move forward. I'm open to how the board would like to move forward.
Did I miss a, because this one says draft B, but I know originally presented to the teachers and rec like 2, and so this is 4. This is the one that was, that we landed on to propose to the board. So draft B really, that's the one that got selected of the 4.
Yes,
Okay.
out of the 4 that were shared with the union co-presidents and then the
But we didn't
exec
see
board.
those, right?
No.
It was, okay. I was like, did I miss?
I mean, and I think the
C&D.
only way to potentially get a better answer on the family question, I hate going in mid-August, I love going in mid-August, would be to survey parents, which we could do. I mean, I realize this is a board decision. The board sets the instructional calendar for the school district. So I appreciate Angela and working with the REC and working sort of through a different format this year to gather more feedback. We had some criticism that the calendar committee also wasn't representative enough, so tried to have more representative feedback from our educators. Our number one goal is that we built a school calendar based on student learning, best for student learning, which means best for our families, and I appreciate that, but in just a lot of conversations, the best for our families is not all, David, kind of what you're saying, is not all the same. There's just going to be varying opinions, but certainly we could look at what the majority of opinion is.
On the proposal of starting on August 25th, which would be the Tuesday, and then that would bump us out of that week of June 7th, likely. Is that just something that you got a ton of pushback from REC on?
We did get questions and concerns about that, because then we have the 2 Institute days before, so Institute Day would be Monday and Friday. Right. And the concern there is that last weekend for vacations for staff members as well. And so how would they, like if some staff members, a number of staff members are concerned that they have their final vacation and lead into that weekend before we start school, and so that would impact their plans as well. So that Friday Institute Day, there was some concern, not just from REC, but from administrators also, about whether or not, how attendance would look from teachers on that Friday.
Okay.
That was one of the 4 drafts.
Well, I presume attendance is mandatory now.
It is.
Yeah, okay. No,
But
just to call that out. Okay.
You get sick. You
It's just a weird, this is a weird calendar.
It is. It is. I agree. And even when I first started looking at the calendar in October, Dr. Rantoy and I had talked about that it seemed, August 27th seemed really late to me.
Yeah.
We did some research, and it turns out that it is around that time. 27 is not necessarily the number, but it really is around this time that we usually start. Because I'm like, this just seems really late. And as we did, I think we went back probably 7-8 years, and it's pretty consistent. But it feels weird to me also, especially ending June 8th. That feels
Yeah,
off.
because we started the 20th this year, and we're ending on May 30th, so just ending June 8th feels really late, but our spring break is actually a couple days earlier. I was initially thinking spring break keeps creeping into April, but it's actually 2 days earlier. We're going through the 6th, coming back the 7th this year. We'd be coming back I lost it, 4th, 5th.
And with this calendar right now, November 3rd is a non-instructional day, so that pushes us out a day for the 176 because of the elections. So right now, not knowing whether or not Governor Pritzker is going to make it a mandatory holiday, we plan for it to be, and so that also pushes us out a date. So if you think about it, if we didn't have that election day there, then we would end up on a Monday, so then we would have pushed it back, and then we would have ended up on Friday the 4th, starting on a Wednesday. So election day also pushed us into that week as well.
Yep.
And the other call out I forgot to mention is we are going to move the October Institute Day from the Monday of Indigenous People Columbus Day to the Friday of that weekend. And we're doing that deliberately because West 40, the ROE that we work with, they've started doing professional learning series for singleton subjects. So like our PE, our music, our art, as well as our paraprofessionals. And they do it on the Friday before, or that Friday before that holiday. So we missed it this year, and we're trying to be more aligned with that, as well as I know Nora Garrity has seen some professional learning opportunities for special education staff as well as paraprofessionals with other districts, because other districts are doing it on Friday also. So it just makes more sense for us to move to Friday of that 3-day weekend, so that, or of that, 3-day weekend, so that we can now collaborate with other districts too.
And then I think we added some half days in here as well, right? And
We
so
did. We added a half day on Friday, October 30th, so students will be in school for the morning for all the Halloween festivities, and then they'll go home for their Halloween afternoons, but the teachers will stay, the staff members will stay and have professional learning that afternoon.
But it looks like that counts because we did 5 hours
It
of
does,
instruction?
yes.
Is that-
Half day
okay.
counts for student attendance.
Okay, so we're
So
not
it's one of the
losing days
176.
because of that.
Mm.
Okay, all right. Just the election day is
Yes.
really the, okay.
Yep.
Where have we landed on, I know there's been discussion in the past about Thanksgiving week. I've actually just recently learned this, having a child going into high school. They do not get the whole week. It's
No.
just the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm presuming parents, again, value having the full week. Maybe not, I don't know. Wasn't there talk of some point of moving like the conferences to that
Once
Monday,
we
Tuesday?
have standards-based grading fully set, then we're going to look at moving conferences to middle of the trimester, the first trimester, because then we're reporting on how students are learning the standards, how they're doing on learning their grade level of content, and it gives the teachers more direction in what they're talking about at conferences with the standards-based learning piece. So we're waiting until standards-based grading and reporting is fully in place, which will be not this upcoming school year, but the 27-28 year. And that's when we would look at moving conferences to the middle of the trimester. So there is still talk of that, still plans for that. It's just because we're not the standards-based grading piece yet, we haven't moved it yet.
And that would be obviously a really big change that required more notice to families.
Yes.
And some school districts, even when they don't have conferences, still take that as basically a break. So you still could. It's just all about getting to the 176 instructional days and the required professional development days.
I'm with you, though. I just didn't want to say it out loud.
And I'm also trying to think, because it was funny, there's one of the policies about the school year calendar day and like commemorative holidays. I think they're even making like the Friday after Thanksgiving commemorative, that you don't have to. But where have we landed on like the Good Friday? So like our spring breaks, like the week
It
plus.
falls during, so it's
on the Friday the 20-something, but that's something
Yeah.
that as a district we've decided it makes sense to have off.
It's long baked into the calendar, I can say that. It's something that could change. I know there are some districts that are changing it, real honestly, and we haven't polled our staff in this way. That one of the sort of thoughts behind that is that enough people would take it as a religious holiday that you could have difficulty staffing your school district. It's a bit of an unknown.
I mean, it's not ideal, but it's a weird calendar.
I'm like,
and the only options I really see is you take the 20th and the 21st as institute days and we start on a Monday, or we've got to fill the 2 days over Thanksgiving, which I don't think will go over well. Other than that, I don't really see a good option here. It's interesting that RB is starting so late, I guess.
Right.
But maybe they're not. I don't know.
You said to fill the 2 days before Thanksgiving, so you're looking at possibly
But, I mean,
recommending
if you're just
to us.
if we're trying to just cut off 2 days, I
Yeah.
don't see any way you get all the way into May with this calendar. So if you just want to cut off that Monday and Tuesday, we either use Tuesday, Wednesday, and like, because you got parent-teacher conferences on Monday, but you can't take 3 days. Or we've got to shift the start back 2 days. But it doesn't make any sense to do a Friday Institute day and a Monday Institute day, so you gotta, like, there's not really a good option.
We talked about that. That wasn't
We
something
did, and the
teachers
union
not
did
ideal. I would
take
agree,
that
that's not
back
ideal,
to-
so-
Yeah, I
Right.
wouldn't want.
The union did discuss that as well, because that was one of the drafts we brought, and so they had a conversation as well about it. But yeah, that was not ideal.
I mean, even from a learning perspective, I'd rather come back the next day rather than take a weekend off. And just knowing some of the content that you all do, it feels like it's better just to do it 2 days in a row. So.
Right.
You do start to sort of establish your momentum as you're heading
Yeah.
into the school year.
And moving it to Monday doesn't do any good because then you end on a Monday. We talked about that last year. So
Yeah.
we took that feedback and
Yeah, right. Tried to apply that. Yeah.
But on having the institute days on the 20th and the 21st, if the argument is like, well, the teachers are not getting that extra weekend, well then like, but on the benefit of that obviously is then they're not using that extra weekend in June 4th, 5th.
Yeah, because I think we'd be the third where that we're out that Thursday instead
They're
of
all out that weekend.
Tuesday.
I'd have to count out the days, but it's, I don't know, am I hearing you, Wesley, that like you'd like us to explore Institute Day on the 20th and 21st and start school on Monday, which would move our end date 3 days
So we'd end on a
and would
Thursday,
make
right?
the end date, it looks like Thursday, June 3rd instead.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
mean,
what I'm?
I think that'd be the only other alternative because I don't think if we're gonna take away Thanksgiving, I mean, we could. There's plenty of notice, right? Like, I mean, I suppose people have booked vacations in November already. Like if you're
I don't
traveling
think
with
you should do
family,
that.
but-
I wouldn't do that without a lot of parent
Well,
feedback. Yeah.
that's why I said I didn't want to say it out
A year
loud.
and a half talking about half days.
Yeah,
And then, like,
right.
they put out a whole proposal
Yeah.
to like
Yeah.
just to throw in a few more, even the extra half days. We got to communicate those
Yeah.
really well. We got to make sure. But
I mean, it's just baked into your mind. So if we're gonna change it, we've gotta.
Yeah, no,
Well,
I
that's
mean,
just it. People might not have booked the vacation for November now, but in October they might, and just automatically assume that they're getting those days off.
What about, is this possible? To make Election Day an e-learning day?
It depends if the governor declares it as a
yes.
holiday.
Right.
Because if he declares it as a holiday, it's also a holiday for our employees. And it's unclear. I mean, yes, that is, if it's not a holiday, it probably would be a very good solution for us. But it's.
So what
it's-
happens if he doesn't?
If he doesn't declare it as a holiday, then we're potentially putting it back in the calendar, and we're yeah.
I mean,
Is there any indication?
Ending
that
on
he's
Monday.
going to? It's been
I guess
No,
positioned
people are
now
taking it.
several
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
I
we
guess
were
been several
already told
times
that
now,
it's not
hasn't
going
it?
to be a
It's not going to be a holiday.
in our state.
And what source did you hear that from?
I don't remember, but it's
Yeah.
not on our calendar. And I can't remember where we heard this, but they said they would not be doing it anymore as a holiday for us. So it's like, parents are going to have to be working anyway. It's just kind of a rough day to.
I guess.
If you take Election Day out, then you can just move the IDs one day up. and
Yeah,
we're
that was
good.
my thought.
But I guess the question is, when's he going to make the announcement?
Right.
And so,
got a friend
I
who works
mean,
with
I guess this would be my suggestion. Is I don't know, and if this was a proposal of see if we could do Institute Day on the 20th and 21st, and starting school then on a Monday. Was that a proposal?
It was not a proposal, but we can definitely take it back.
I'd almost say let's look at that, because then we definitely don't end like on a Tuesday. We would end more realistically on a Thursday or even possibly Wednesday if it's
Yeah, because then if it isn't, then
Right.
that's just one more day off, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be my only other alternative solution because nothing else really makes sense.
Right.
Right now, based on information from the Illinois Department of Central Management and the Illinois Secretary of State, the general election day on November 3rd, 2026 is listed as a holiday.
Listed as a holiday.
Yeah, that's from AI.
Well, we know how accurate that
Right.
is.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't know if there's, as a board, we want to bring that, have that, at least
I mean,
float that idea, because that'd be my suggestion. This is, I mean, we all agree this is a weird calendar. I think it would be less weird if we moved everything up like
A few days.
I'd be interested in feedback on it at the very least. I mean, from my position, I would rather do the, if I were in that seat, I'd rather do the 20th and the 21st and get out closer to May and more into June personally, but I'd be
I do know one of the things that we'll get for feedback is a 5-day start, is a 5-week start. A 5-day start for the first week of school is challenging for kids. That is one thing, that's one thing that I know our staff members will say, because it comes up every time we start the calendar. And even when we were looking at different options, we did look at the Tuesday start, because that's when Brookfield-LaGrange is starting. And one of the things that came back is a 4-day start, a 4-day week start is tough for kids. So I know when I go back, one of the things we will hear is that a 5-day week is challenging for the students as well. So just putting that out there, still very willing and ready to take this recommendation back. I'm just letting you know one of the things we'll see right away.
What, I'm just curious, what's the challenge? Just getting back in the groove?
Getting back in the groove,
Yeah, not having a lot of stamina, particularly for younger kids.
Right, because even with the 3-day start of a week, they're wiped by Friday. Like if any of you remember, if you have the younger ones still, or if you remember when yours were younger, like by Friday they're conked out. And so when you think about going 5 days, whew, yeah.
With the winter break, it takes 3 days to get back.
So, and for what it's worth, using the old-fashioned Google on the Secretary of State's website, I think Election Day 2026 is listed as a state holiday.
So that almost feels like the governor doesn't need to make a decision. Unless they change it. Okay.
Or let me, oh, never mind that.
I mean, yeah, I'm probably more in the minority. Like, I was like, okay, it's not ideal, but if anything, I'm like, I wish the high school started later. And it's always felt weird to me to end in May. June weather can still be so cold. So I actually like, it is a little weird, but I like a later start. Gosh, ideally it would be like in September after Labor Day, some might think. I think CPS used to consistently do that. I'm not sure if they still do.
Now they've moved into August.
Okay, so, but yeah, for me it's more like, yes, these high schools seem to be starting so early, and then it's like sports before that. I mean, really, like summer looks so different for high school students, I'm learning. But I understand the challenges. I rely on, summer care as well, and have always had to figure out that gap. I think with notice, families could make that work. I would be hesitant to, I would just be hesitant for our educators to do a Thursday, Friday, or Friday, Monday Institute Day, plus like just the long week. I'm not opposed if that's what the majority of the board wants to explore, but I would also be fine moving forward with the calendar as it is. That's just my.
You make a great point about weather being warmer in August as opposed to
that's my great point.
Late May, early June.
Weather.
You're totally right. I didn't think about it, but you're absolutely right.
It's not ideal, but.
We got some of that feedback at PLT as well, that families would rather enjoy time in August off and away from school than in early June. Again, it's a lot of variation in those opinions. But this was our recommended calendar. The idea being like we would have some discussion. This has been, a lot of discussion, so thank you for that. Ideally, we were going to bring it back then for approval, but it sounds like there's another iteration we're going to...
Sounds that way, yes.
Okay. I'm not sure I heard all the details, David, but Angela, if you did, then...
I did.
And it'll be in the minutes.
I see that Kathy is taking notes also. So.
Okay.
Since she helps me with that.
Yeah. I guess, if the rest of the board doesn't think this is a good idea, but I'd say let's just explore doing the 21st. I agree with Wesley, like doing like 21st and 24th for Institute Day, you do lose a lot. You lose over the weekend, so I wouldn't even want to approach that. But if we could do 21st and start on that Monday, I realize it might be a rough.
That's where the 5-day week, first week is 5 days.
Yeah.
It sounded like a good idea to me, the 20th and 21st, but you did did mention the 5-day week. Now I'm remembering, like, I've always heard that over the years from everybody at the school. It's like, yep, it takes till halfway through the week until the kids finally get out of their slump. It's a bad start to the school year, it sounds like, for kids.
It's a definite risk.
I guess I don't really feel strongly against the way the calendar's laid out now. I think it's just kind of an unfortunate way that all the dates fall in the months, but and I do have, I don't use camps or high schoolers or anything like that, but I have friends who do, and they just kind of anticipate that that hole in August is like typically when they take vacation, and I think people just kind of prepare for that. So I don't feel very strongly about changing it.
I don't know where we're leaning on this.
I don't know either.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
I don't know if we need you to go back or not. I was just throwing out alternatives, but I could live with this. Do you want to go back definitely, just for an option, just to see what the feedback is?
I'm not, I'd be interested, but I mean, if the majority of the board wants to go with this, I mean, I'm okay with it.
Matt,
I don't have strong feelings one way or the other. So.
Yeah, I don't have a strong feeling. I just, that 5-day first week does not sound like a good option.
Stephanie, you kind of gave an opinion, so I'm going to take that as ambivalent. I don't know how you feel, Dan.
I'm fine with it as is. It's ugly. It's the no good option, but it doesn't sound like there's a better option.
Yeah. Let's just move forward. Well, she wants to change it. You want to change it? I thought that was the whole reason we were having this conversation.
Yeah, I feel like we can do better, so I would not vote in favor of this calendar.
But it sounds like there's consensus, so like by all means go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if we're gonna get, if it's gonna come back like this anyway, is it worth the time trying to go through it, mull it over, get the feedback and everything? I think you have enough. We just move forward with it.
Okay.
So what we would do is we would put it on the agenda for formal approval at the next
one.
meeting.
Yeah.
Sometimes what we have done is we have published a draft calendar pending board approval, because families do start to contact us and want to know about winter break, first day, spring break, etc. So if you're comfortable with it, that there seems to be consensus and a sense of direction that will likely be approved through formal board action at the next meeting, is that we would do some communication about it. Draft, pending approval, etc. But I know families do start to want to know.
Yeah.
You can do that. Let us know if we get much feedback or what type of feedback we get.
Yeah. Yeah, one way is if we got really negative feedback.
Right, because there is really no good, I mean, the way I'm looking at this, there's no good option right now. I mean, and to your point, yes, we can do better, but how much better can we?
I would propose Friday 21st and Monday 24th as teacher institute days, and pushing the schedule 2 days forward is better.
And I can see that. I guess I just sort of having those education days, breaking it up, you lose that continuity over the weekend.
Yeah, I think on paper it's better. But I think
on paper it's definitely better. Yeah.
Let's do that. We can always, we don't have to vote on this next one. If we get really bad feedback from the community or something like that, we can always table it. When do we have to have this approved? Is there like a legal
There's an
requirement,
expectation
or
from the
just-
community that it's like around now. So again, just more tradition and expectations. I think we can, Kathy, submit it to the State Board of Ed probably up until the end of this school year, and then you still can send revisions, and so it's kind of a changeable, movable document, but that's not what families want it to be.
Right.
So.
I mean, I think if you were able to get it out, can we do like a public, like an email from you or something saying the calendar's out there, and just request any feedback? I don't know. It's hard to say whether we'll actually get any or not.
Yeah. I mean, if you want feedback, I would do it differently. If you're sort of like passively, feedback might be interesting, but that's different than like actually surveying and asking.
Well, do we normally get feedback when the calendar's published?
No, but I'm saying like this one is so unique and different. Oh, you hear the feedback, yeah.
It's usually in the year.
Yeah,
I'll hear it,
yeah.
But I didn't know if anyone takes time to feedback.
I mean,
when
we
it
get
comes out.
we get exactly that start of the year thing, but it's not a significant number of people that wish we started earlier and people that wish we started later. People that still say, why do we not start after Labor Day? You know, so.
I would sort of argue that like our role as board members is to solicit feedback from the community, and so we should be out there talking to the community about this. So there doesn't necessarily need to be like a formal survey. Like, talk to people in the community, see what they have to say about it. Like, that's what your job is as a board member.
Yep, and I do, and I don't get much. I don't think people look at it as deeply as we do.
Yeah.
Is usually the feedback I get.
With that gap in August, camps ending and every school district.
It is a wider gap, but yes, there always is one. It is wider. And my biggest concern is just whenever we do communicate, whether it's, hey, this is a draft, that we begin communicating early about the half days.
Yes. Yeah, and we really do want to get this calendar out there for that reason. That's
And I don't know if we've then solidified officially the plan with the park district and like how that would be.
Once we give them the dates, they
accommodated,
have.
so just so families know, like they're please note, these half days, but we're working with our park district on options for a.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my bigger concern when this is ready to go out to the community.
Yeah, I agree.
And those dates aren't in flux. So.
Maybe, I mean, this doesn't feel like a strategic plan thing, but you've got a group of people to give feedback. I don't know if this should be something that we talk about. This is incredibly difficult to get feedback on, and usually parents are just, well, for me personally, this is what I want, and so that's always the challenge, is I can't personally give everybody exactly what they want, and so we've got to balance all these other things, and it's just not something that most parents in the community are really thinking about as intensely as what we're talking about tonight. So I don't know. I feel like you've got enough votes to just move forward with it. It's not ideal, but it is a very weird calendar this year, just the way that the days lay out. So I think we just move forward with it from what I'm hearing tonight.
Okay.
If we need to have a discussion at the next meeting, we can always pivot. So I'm not voting.
Yep. Not voting tonight. Yeah.
Not tonight. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the discussion.
Yeah.
Thanks, Angela.
Thanks. Wasn't quite expecting it to take that long. All right. Okay. I think policy, this is the one I was expecting to take a little bit longer, is the only thing we have left. Yes. So, Ms. Gunn, I'll hand it over to you to talk us through the press release.
Say, what do I have? 45 minutes? No, I'm hoping it won't. I'm hoping it won't take that long. I know these always can look overwhelming, but we have a combination of press updates. Issue 120, which actually came out, I think, around October, November. So it's not due back until sometime in late February after. Okay, so we're good on timing, but we also have 2 District 96 specific edits that are not part of press, so I just kind of wanted to call those out first and perhaps start with those. And then as I go through press, I won't touch on every single policy. I like to talk about it in the bundles as it's presented, because they impact various different policies. Sometimes there's overlap. A lot of legislation that came out of the General Assembly this past spring one of them affected 31 different policies, right? So footnotes, etc. But for the district specific edits, I saw 2230 public comment at Board of Education meetings was on there. I believe the reason was, I think there was perhaps a discrepancy in our understanding on the number of minutes that we allow.
Yeah, I think there's a difference if you want it to be 3 or
the board, the policy, and as we've been stating before, every public comment out loud is 5 minutes. But I also thought we were supposed to be 3 minutes. And again, the board always has the discretion to add more time after, but
our policy says 5 minutes.
Our policy says 5.
Yeah. I always thought it was 5.
And we've been saying 5.
Right.
But I don't know why this one got
because there'd been a conversation at one point if it was 3, right, Kathy? And so
for the longest time I thought it was 3, but it's 5.
For the longest time we thought it was 3, and the policy said 5.
And you're saying 5, and so
do we
keep it
at
good
5?
With the policy, then
do we move it to 3?
Right, that's the
Have
question.
we stated that at meetings? I guess I've never.
Yeah, we've
Only when
started.
people are up here, and then I we got the timer to help try to keep us on track, because just so people know how much time they have and everything.
You also set a maximum, like
We
if
used
there
to
were
say
many
3.
public
Right.
comments.
We used, I mean, yes.
I might have.
But-
I just,
Yes.
I'm struggling to come up with when it was 3, but okay.
It used to be 3.
And that wasn't really, sorry, I wasn't supposed to be a finger point,
Yeah.
but before, we did used to, I think I used to say 3. We don't get a lot, but then we looked at the policy, and it actually does say 5 in the policy, so I changed it. I'm fine with it being 5. We have very limited public comment,
Yep.
and I think people are pretty good about staying within those general parameters. I think the one challenge we've had is we don't have any kind of timekeeping thing, right? And so I always feel a little awkward cutting people off, which is why we got the timer, just to help with the time management and stuff like that. I don't have any personal issues with it being 5 the way that it's currently written.
Okay, yeah, I would recommend we keep it at 5. I think the practice has worked. I appreciate how we've tightened up the communication to both in the public comment sign up and prior to the public comment on the agenda, just to reiterate what the expectation is and what public comment is at a board meeting. So, good with that. The other one that got updated just by us specifically was a chain of command one, 330. And I think this came out of the D96 admin structure was updated because of our change in, is it the Director of Operations and Maintenance role? So basically a new org chart.
Yeah, and it actually should say facilities and maintenance, Kathy.
Facilities,
I think we just
okay,
flipped those.
that's what I thought.
One of them still says operations and maintenance.
Okay, right.
We have changed this thing so many
in
times.
the
Board book. I
Yes.
think I saw it correct.
Yeah.
So that's just, updating an org chart per policy 330. So whoever caught that, thank you. I did not.
Kathy, I see 2 different org charts attached. So anyway,
Oh,
we'll clean
okay.
that up. Facilities and maintenance.
All right, facilities
Yes,
and
thank you.
maintenance. That's what it was. Yeah, okay. Anything on just the D96 specific policies before we get into press? Okay. So for press, as I mentioned, this is the fall policy update, and it comes out of a lot of legislation. So these are kind of like the musts, right? Like we just have to add these. And I think more than anything, they are important for like Martha and the team to know like how it changes perhaps practices that we just our practices. So there's a couple different bundles, and I just want to touch on a few, and then of course if there's questions, happy to take that back. So one of the really big bundles that came out was the immigration and law enforcement, and that is the 7150 suite. And essentially it is this new public act, the Safe Schools for All Act, which became effective January 1st. Schools aren't required to have these policies in place until July 1st of 2026. But essentially it and you can read, secures the right of every child to equal access to free public education, safe from intimidation and fear. And so a lot of schools right now in their effort to promote that right are taking steps to protect the learning environments of children. A lot of this is tied into things like absenteeism, so there's not discouragement coming to school because of more recent threats of immigration or law enforcement activity on school campuses. But essentially it's 7150, which is the agency and law enforcement requests that I know we've all read and been familiar with. We've shared it with the public and our community, but it was renamed and rewritten to reflect these changes. So essentially establishing a policy regarding these law enforcement requests at school and procedures for reviewing and authorizing requests for agents to enter school. I think there's also an addition now that you can't disclose information on perceived citizenship or immigration status of students. You cannot put country of birth as directory information. So those are some of the changes that came out of this. And I don't know if it's just because other schools other districts did not have as, I don't
beefed up. Again, sometimes it feels like these are catching up to practices that we've already been doing. But it just wanted to highlight 7150 from the Safe Schools for All Act that came out. Anything on that? Did anybody notice anything? Have questions? And then one of the other sections or bundles falls within like district operations and safety. So a couple different laws and public acts that impact our operations, including finance and school safety. So I think Martha reviews this with kind of relevant members of the team, but there's a couple I just wanted to call out and touch on. I don't really, again, sometimes I'm like, I don't know if this exactly relates to us, but 430, which is revenue and investments, basically prohibits districts from depositing funds in what they refer to as financial institutions subject to Community Reinvestment Act. And you're like, well, what are those? What are those financial institutions? Essentially like state chartered banks and credit unions. So I don't know that we were doing that anyway, but school districts are now prohibited from depositing funds in something like a state chartered bank or credit union. 448, which is accounting and audits. This one might be different than what we've done. So now it requires the school district's auditor to file the annual financial report and audit with ISB annually, and then the superintendent has to ensure that the auditor makes those filings. They were saying that can be as simple as like CCing, the superintendent on the filing to ISB. So again, I think it's just making sure that's part of the administration's practices. Another one that has to do with safety was 7190, which is student behavior under the required notices. It requires building principals to notify law enforcement upon receiving a report, and now it's been added, or a threat of gun violence on school grounds. And if the threat is from a student, the building principal also has to notify the student's parents or guardians as soon as possible. I think Martha and I were talking about like, this is what our practice has been. So I think the policy used to be just a report, and now it's also or a threat of. So beefed up, if you will. The language has just been beefed up. And then 5220 for substitute teachers. Again, I think maybe we've done this. It requires districts to provide all substitute personnel with training on school evacuation drills and law enforcement lockdown drills. So again, just more of like the operations and safety and some changes that Martha and team might need to be aware of, but it sounds like we were perhaps already doing these. One of the other bundles that was affected was personnel issues. So a couple changes to some policies that affect like nursing mothers, compensating employees at their regular rate of pay for, nursing or expressing.
That was weird how that was written. So that's just, essentially they're just paid for their time, right? While they're doing that. Okay. Wasn't sure.
Yep. And then there was another policy that fell under personnel. Again, these are all kind of all over the place, but I think it's a new one, 2270, the discrimination and harassment, which has to do with the Illinois Department of Human Rights, creating like a racism-free training for all district employees, and then it has to happen at employee onboarding and then once every 2 years thereafter. So again, just more for the board to be aware of these changes.
So this was marked new. Was this just a net new policy?
That's what I thought.
Okay.
2270.
I don't recall ever seeing anything marked with new before. Could have. Just don't recall it.
Yeah, sometimes it'll say like rewritten. I think last bundle we had a completely new one as well. I'm forgetting which one it was. Some of the other ones that it impacted, curriculum was another area. So there was this, again, public act that impacted many provisions of the school code. This one creates what's known as a School Code Mandate Reduction Council. So it essentially makes like future recommendations about mandates in schools. It did a lot of like reorganizing, renumbering, amending topics. that must be covered as part of a district's curriculum. And that bill, I was saying, like, required changes to at least 51 different press materials. And there was like overlap, so it looks a little crazier than it is. And they did say we would see some more of these changes in the next press update when I joined the webinar. But a lot are due to just simple renumbering in the school code, sometimes consolidating language, making minor amendments. But the highest volume of changes is in Suite 660, the curriculum content suite. And that one does have a question in it as well, which I wasn't exactly sure how to answer it.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking back for the 2270 answer. There is a 2270 in our current board manual that was adopted in May of 2024.
Oh, so maybe
like,
it's
yeah,
not
it's
new.
not entirely new. Maybe, yeah. I'd have to go back and look at. Yeah. I'm sorry, but the curriculum question one, are we at 660?
660, the curriculum question.
We do not teach about the Irish famine, so that would be.
The default was no.
Yeah, no. So Angela, thank you for looking into that.
So yeah, just wanted to call out whenever there's questions that we are in agreement on either adopting the default or not.
Okay, so the answer to that is a default no, okay.
Well, so if we were to add it, what would be taken out?
Of our curriculum?
Yes.
Oh.
I think sometimes some of these required items get like a 1 day, like, I don't know that anything would get taken out. I think it would just get added in, which is, one of the criticisms of things keep getting added and things don't get taken out.
And I know we've looked at 660 curriculum content suite a lot over the last few years. But again, it's kind of renumbering, reorganizing, consolidating language were some of the more significant changes that came out of it this go around. And then along with that 6260, which I know we've also all been familiar with, regarding complaints about the curriculum and instructional materials. That's just been updated because of the Supreme Court case that I think many of us are familiar with, Mahmoud v. Taylor, that came out this past summer, a pretty high profile case impacting K through 12 schools regarding religious objections to materials used in the classroom. So that suite of materials was updated to include that case law, and really the takeaway to each objection is, handled on a case-by-case basis, and pick up the phone, talk to your board attorney as needed. And a lot of the AP material was also updated, which we don't, it's not necessarily policy that we bring to the board. What else? Oh, 6210 is also a policy that has on instructional material, there's an optional question in there as well. And I think we said yes, Martha, to how we respond to it.
Yes, you did. So I'm just looking at the default is no.
Default is no, but we already include, but we do include this language.
Superintendent shall approve the selection of all other instructional materials, that part of the language?
Yeah, and primary. So they would now, for districts that have this optional language already, and we do have this language already in our policy, if we keep it, which I would recommend we do, they're now going to add the underlined portion. So they'll add primary before instruction materials, and they will add that final line of the superintendent shall approve the selection of all other instruction materials. This is already what we're doing.
Yeah, I guess is that the practice? I imagine it is.
So it's interesting. It was interesting to sort of stop and think about this one, because you do approve something like a ELA adoption, a math adoption, something that's going to have some major cost to it. And then there's a lot of ancillary instructional materials. Do you approve everything? I would argue that yes, you do, because you're approving it in our budget. But I think this policy does make a lot of sense that you're really approving primary, because does a teacher bring in a different book today? Did you approve that exact book? She found another alternative lesson that she really wants to, like, again, so this idea that you approve absolutely everything is probably a bit of an overstatement. So I think this policy does clarify.
So then we would select yes, and it would add in that additional line. So those are the only policies that had questions attached to them. Some of the other, just again, bundles under student behavior, mental health, and attendance. 7180, prevention of and response to bullying, intimidation, and harassment. Updated different definitions, and also just for the board's review, we did go ahead and attach the middle school health, social emotional learning topics attached. And we also think that perhaps in the future this could be a good opportunity to bring this type of presentation to the board so we can get more into the weeds and details of, you know, what that SEL curriculum looks like. That touches upon this policy.
So on that note, Martha and I actually conferred with this. Over break, I've been doing a lot of outreach, including other districts and different people. We had an incident of a student using a racial slur towards another student, and so over winter break, I really took some time digging in because we've had a couple, you know, it's not like a prevalent problem or anything like that, but we do have, you know, incidents like this happen more than we would care, right? So I've been talking to Martha about that, and I think even just sitting down with her and kind of talking about some of the curriculum stuff that we do, there was a lot of things that I was unaware of that we actually engage with. So I think that would be a really good idea for us to just really understand, like, what do we do? There's been a lot of talk in the community that I've heard about of, like, what else can we do? And I would always agree. I would always say, like, there's always more that you can do. I think this is an issue that'll never have a final solution to it, but we can always try to figure out how to do better. So I know I talked to Marlo because she got put on a very interesting text chain with a whole bunch of people that went a little AWOL, I think. And I talked with Dan and Stephanie as VP and policy chair around this topic, and I think you both were kind of on board with doing some kind of summarization of this. And so I was chatting with Martha about putting something a little bit more comprehensive together and just saying, here's kind of all the different ways that we approach this topic, things that are embedded in the school. I think even talking about just what are our procedures around adjudicating incidents and things like that. So just kind of throwing that out there. I wanted to collectively ask if everybody would be on board with that. I know, you know, before we direct any work with the team, we always want to make sure there's 4 of us, and I kind of counted you 3 as my 4 there, but I wanted to bring Dan and Matt and Selena into the loop on that one. So we might try to prepare that one for an upcoming COW, either February or potentially March, depending on whether your team has time to actually put that together. But so yeah, more to come on that, because we did have that one recent incident, and we've had some public comment on this, and I've talked to many people in the community about just general engagement. So I think it'd be good to educate ourselves on how this is.
So rather than have this written as policy, we're writing up a separate
No. Just what do we do?
More of an insight to the implementation of the policy.
Okay.
Yeah, not to replace the policy.
Not to replace the policy, no, but just kind of translating.
How are we adhering to the policy?
Yeah. And, you know, and there's so many, and I know I say this, there's so many layers, and there's certainly, because it links to certainly curriculum content, it links to social emotional learning policies. I think one of the things is, if the board could sort of think about what area of focus, like you mentioned, sort of how we address student discipline. I know there's been some questions about how we address just the proactive, preventative, social emotional learning piece, how we address climate and culture. So are there particular areas that you'd like us to focus in on? Because I can certainly say that it's part of everything we do, right? It is climate and culture. It is the SEL curriculum. It is the general curriculum, and just how our teachers are. It's about responsive classroom and the way in which they interact with students. So there's just a lot of different layers, and I would look to, you know, to Nora Garrity, to Chris Harbalis, to our team to put together a presentation, but to help kind of focus in if you have particular thoughts, and even if it's not, you know, tonight, if you want to share them with me as we prepare something, I'm happy to bring that forward.
I think a lot of what we do isn't explicit, and so just kind of sharing some of the process that we go through, like the culturally responsive classroom. And I think from what Martha and I have talked about, we have lessons that are kind of baked in at the elementary level, but it's take 20 minutes during morning meeting and do this thing or whatever, and it doesn't quite translate to the middle schools, and middle schools chaotic right now with just everything going on with them, and so we try to do it through whatever's in the curriculum, but it's not like a in your face, hey kids, we're gonna talk about this thing now. And so I think just kind of going through that and allowing us to have an understanding of how is this baked into the curriculum, what are the things that we're already doing to try to be proactive on it, and then how do we respond when something happens, because inevitably something will happen. But I feel like we've had enough of the dialogue at the table, and we all kind of know incidents that have happened in the community, just having a collective discussion on how do we go day by day and facilitate this type of stuff. I mean, the Best Buddies couldn't have been more of a, maybe it wasn't a coincidence, I don't know, but
it was a coincidence. But
I heard a lot of that come out in them, of the inclusiveness and intentionally bringing people together and stuff like that. So we do a lot of that, and it just doesn't, it's not overt. You're not going to look at it and say that there it is right there. So just kind of having a better understanding from ours of like where that actually fits in, and then if we have suggestions or questions about what else could we do, starting point is what do we already do before we start throwing more stuff at it. So we'll have more to come on that in the future. So thank you for kind of stating that. I was going to bring that up at the end when you were done anyway. So
yeah, and kind of alongside that one of the final policies that falls under the mental health and attendance and student behavior bundle is the 7290, the suicide and depression awareness prevention, which does require districts to have protocols for requiring education for students on mental health and illness. And again, we've attached the topics for reference here for the board. It also requires that the district insert the same contact information for the suicide prevention helpline that's required right now for our students' ID cards to be placed onto staff or employee cards as well for those serving grades 6 through 12. So just something Martha and I talked about. So in terms of 120, those are really some of the main ones that I wanted to call out. As I mentioned, a lot just coming out of the General Assembly this past spring and legislation that affected the policies. I believe there will be more to come in the next issue. And then the only other things I'll mention, I do like to join the webinars, and at the end of the webinars, they just kind of give you like a progress report for some of the things that might be coming down the pipeline in future press updates. So the kind of renumbering continues. They did talk about starting in the 27-28 school year, like mental health screening requirements that will be offered to all students, but they're still waiting on ISB to put out guidance on implementation, so that will likely update some press materials in like the 7-250.
People are probably aware that we use it's called the Renaissance Screener, so we do a social emotional screener. I know this is an area, it's interesting, the policy links it to funding, but it's also an area where I think we all feel challenged by finding something that's short, that students can that can be easily administered to students and provides us with meaningful results.
Yeah. There will be some updates regarding, it applies to a lot of Illinois employers, including school districts, but FMLA for parents that are caring for a newborn in the NICU. So the neonatal intensive care leave will be coming down. And then also, I don't know exactly how this is going to affect us, but there's a Senate bill that impacts the reasons that a board can meet remotely to also include something like active military duty service. But there was another provision that expanded the exception for board evaluation and going into closed session for that. So keeping an eye on what effect that might have, because we do utilize that for closed session to do our board evals. I don't know if it's going to be a helpful or something.
It sounds like they're going to allow other facilitators. Like right now, it has to be with the Illinois Association of School Boards, that there would be other facilitators that would be allowed to do that. Is how I interpret it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, just something hasn't been signed by the governor yet. It is a Senate bill, so.
Did we talk about the military leave one in the past? I thought they'd already done that. That you could participate remotely if it was for military leave.
I don't
feel
remember.
like
Maybe
it's
not
not
around
reasons.
board. I feel like it's been for other
Okay.
areas.
Board, medical, childcare. Yeah, I forget all the exact reasons, but. Yeah. Any questions? Anybody see or read anything they wanted to bring up? So we can circle back with you. There's a lot, but also fairly straightforward.
Yeah, more intense than the last couple that you brought.
And so, for action, we would wait to put it on the February board meeting. If we think we want to have more discussion around any of them, we could also add it to February COW. But I don't know that we need to, just from the feedback here tonight.
I'm not hearing that we need to, but if anybody does, we've got a little less than 2 weeks to throw it on
Yeah,
there, right? With
sure.
20, what is it, 48 hours? 72 hours?
48.
48 hours.
Yep.
Okay, so if anybody wants to put it on, just let Martha and I know, or I guess let Martha know, copy me on it, but if we get one, we can just throw it on there for COW to cover it. Otherwise, we'll pull this in for our next regular meeting in February then. Thank you, Stephanie, for walking us through all that.
Yes, definitely.
All right, no more agenda items. I'm not seeing anybody here, but Kathy, is anybody on the... Okay. All right, no more public comment. So future meeting dates will be February 4th, 26, Committee of the Whole meeting at 7 p.m. in the multipurpose room at Hollywood School. Regular board meeting on February 18th, 7 p.m. in the Hauser Auditorium. We must be doing awards or something that night.
Yep.
Yep, okay. March 4th, Committee of the Whole, 7 p.m. in the multipurpose room at Ames. March 18th at is the regular business meeting, 7 p.m. here in the Hauser Learning Resource Center. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.